Dr. Atit Urairat, the President of Rangsit University, guest speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Rangsit University has continuously provided support to faculty members, staff, and students so that they can engage in quality research projects, which are in line with the national strategies. The university, through its research and academic service mission, has continuously strived for academic excellence in all disciplines. The university, for instance, has provided support to faculty members and students by disseminating their research findings by means of presenting and publishing their works both regionally and internationally. This support reflects the university's commitment to preparing its graduates to function in the real world and to meet the demands of global integration. On this occasion, Rangsit University has collaborated with ประชาชื่น Research Network Thailand, Salas University USA, Indian Council of Social Science Research India, Japan Advanced Institute of Science and Technology Japan, Hanoi University of Science and Technology Vietnam, Dewey International University Cambodia, University of Northampton England, and Nong Lam University Vietnam, in organizing the RSU National and International Research Conference 2018 with the theme of Integrated Innovation and Startup for the Future. The objectives of this conference are to provide a forum for academic and research presentations and knowledge sharing among members of academia. This forum will provide all participants a chance to engage in constructive dialogues. It is our privilege that the distinguished experts in innovations and startups from China and United States have accepted the invitation to deliver plenary speeches. Professor Dr. Xiao Wei-Shen from University of California and South China University of Technology, and Professor Dr. Matthew Parkinson from the Pennsylvania State University. Additionally, there are 16 keynote speakers, 9 international and 7 national, 210 research papers, those are 16 keynote speeches, 88 international papers, 110 national papers, and 4 posters presented in this conference. In this regard, I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to the organizing committee members, the RSU Research Institute, and all supportive units who have been working hard for months to make this conference possible. May I now invite Dr. Atit Urairat, the President of Rangsit University, on the stage to kindly deliver the opening remarks.
Distinguished keynote speakers, conference participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you all on this momentous occasion of the opening of the 3rd RSU International Research Conference on Science, Technology, Social Science, and Humanities 2018. This is a truly international conference. I welcome you all. I have full trust that this conference will be highly resourceful for all of us, with strengthening our friendship and continuing exchange of knowledge among research networks. In the era where creative economy looms the horizon and global competition is accelerating, changes in teaching and learning approaches in universities to enhance holistic innovation, development, strategy, and startup are inevitable. We could no longer produce graduates with all-rounded knowledge, science, technology, and specific professional competency only, but have to develop them to be future nation builders in the environment where new ideas, innovation, and creativity can flourish. Here at Rangsit University, our vision statement has upheld the key principle that education is, in fact, an innovation in itself. The conference theme this year, namely Integrated Innovation and Startup for the Future, reiterated our stance in maximizing the competitiveness of the university and the potentiality for its faculty members and students in holistic innovation and startup, with active participation and partnership from business sector. We could also build up entrepreneurship competency among our graduates. I'm sure that honorable keynote speakers, resource persons, colleagues, and friends from overseas and research networks will also share invaluable experiences for us all. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues and I fully appreciate the continuing exchanges of information, research findings, and reports from all concerned parties and research networks, all of which will be beneficial for our countries and human beings as a whole. In this conference, Rangsit University takes pride to share some of our discoveries in medical and health sciences. One of these is the tetrahydrocannabinol, presented as tablet and mouth spray for chemotherapy patients to relieve pains, nausea, and vomiting, which currently is the talk of the town and being approved by the Thai FDA. This research was conducted by the Faculty of Pharmacy, Faculty of Law, with underlying purpose to make it responsive to the UN Sustainable Development Goal for good health and well-being of seriously ill patients. Talking about ongoing partnership for development, it is extremely gratifying to learn that this conference has been co-hosted by various research networks with interesting international sessions organized by them. This has reaffirmed that international cooperation in research and innovations have gained increasing momentum in the world today. My deep gratitude is hereby extended to honorable speakers and key resource persons. I would like to convey my sincere appreciation and congratulations to the organizing committee for their hard work and utmost efforts in organizing the international conference. For our colleagues and friends from overseas, I wish you a pleasant stay in Bangkok. May I therefore declare open the third RSU International Research Conference on Science, Technology, Social Science, and Humanities 2018, and wish you all the best for your forthcoming deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the President of RSU, for your opening address. Next, I would like to invite executive committees, eminent speakers, and academics come on the stage, and we are taking photo together. Thank you very much again. As promised, shall we meet the first plenary speaker, Professor Shao Wei Chen. He is now a professor of chemistry at University of California, Santa Cruz. He holds a doctoral and master degree in chemistry from Cornell University. Also, he is the faculty director at UCSC Cosmos and the chair of UCSC Conflict of Interest Review Committee. Additionally, he served on the editorial board of Journal of Nanoengineering and Nanosystems, Journal of Electronic Chemistry, and Particles and Particle System Characterization. Please give a big applause to the first plenary, Professor Shao Wei Chen.
First, let me begin by thanking the organizers for the opportunity to come to this conference, and thank you very much for the nice introduction. This is my first time to Thailand, and I'm very excited, and thank you again for the invitation to come to the conference. And so I'm gonna, as I say, I'm a chemistry professor, and normally when you talk about startup, talk about business, you hear the presentation coming from a business professors. But I feel like it might be interesting also to listen to the perspective from a technologist and see what's the perspective people coming from the ground road, how people doing the real work in this case, right? So as I said, I'm also a co-director of the New Energy Research Institute, of course, a part-time basis. I'm adjunct faculty also at the South China University of Technologies. So, so today my presentation is going to be based largely on my personal experience and personal perspectives. Okay, I have no connection. I hold no position in the government in China. So everything I'm doing here is informal. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt. All right, and so like anything else, when you do everything, right, there are three very important ingredients for every success. Okay, and this was proposed by the ancient Chinese philosopher Mengzi. Right? He always said there are three things in here: 天时地利和人和, if you can read the Chinese, and which can be loosely translated as talents, environment, and timing. Okay, and in terms of startup in China, now is the golden era. I'm just going to give you some idea from my personal perspective why now is the golden era for startup in China, because of excellent timing, excellent environment, and we have a whole bunch of incredible talents in China at this point. Okay, so I'm going to give you some number in this case in my presentations. Right. So this is my outline. I'm going to give you a brief description of the national landscape or economy and development. Okay, I'm not, as I say, a government officer, but there's something I come from my personal experience, and talk about the role of university education, especially in promoting first-rate, top-rate research, and looking at curriculum development, how can we reform the curriculum, therefore can meet the needs of national focus, and they can promote entrepreneurship and innovation in this effort. Right? In addition, how to design actual curriculum activities to get students interested, okay, to promote the culture of entrepreneurship on campus, so get people know what's going on the outside world. And in this situation, it's very, very important to have integration of classroom learning and product application, not only in a research lab, in a classroom, in the entire campus, and see how, before the student can go into the outside world, they will know what's expected. They will know what the expectation on in their career. Okay? And finally, I'm going to present my perspective in a few things right here. So China is a very, very interesting country, right? So back in 2015, in the governmental working report by Premier Li Keqiang to the National People's Congress, he has a proposals. And that proposal is, when you look at here, the 大众创业, 万众创新. What it means is entrepreneurship by the general public and innovation by the general public. So the question is, why they set up such an ambitious national goal at this point? Okay. It used to be these things are done by the elite, by, let's say, for example, professional researchers, professional business persons, and now they want to go to the grassroots. So the question is, the main idea of that is because of national growth. The extremely powerful economic growth in the country in recent years. When you look at the map right here, I'm a scientist, I like numbers, right? So this, the bar represents the GDP of the country, the GDP in the billions of yens of China in the recent decades, in the past 4 decades, since the reform back in the 1979, right? So you can see the growth has been exponential. Okay, the growth has been exponential, and in most years the growth rate is by about 10%. This is remarkable. Yeah, this has been unseen in history, right? And since 2010 also has become the second largest in the world. And in fact, when you look at the GDP in 2017, the U.S. of course remains the largest one in the leading country in the world with about 24% of total GDP. And China is second behind with about 14% or so at this point. Okay. So what does this mean? This number doesn't mean anything. But what the number means is that, well, the country has accumulated a large amount of wealth. And this translated also in terms of individual citizens, they're also coming, that everybody getting a whole part of money in their hands, and this money could be reinvested for further growth in the countries. And that's why the government now put forth a very ambitious plan for entrepreneurship and renovation down to the general public at this point. Okay? Now when you look at this one, this provides a powerful engine, a financial engine for startup. Now what we know that when we do a startup, what do you need to have? We need to have idea, we need to have money, we need to have people to execute the idea. Right? And now we have the money, okay? if I look at the number here, so in 2015, the number of venture capital institutions in China has reached 1775. So more than about 2,000 or so. This is about, when I look at it back in about 12 years ago in 2006, only a few hundreds. So about 5, 6 times increase in the venture capital institution. What I mean by that is that there's a large part of money outside waiting to a good opportunity to investment. Okay? So this is the place that we're happy to be in at this point. And the total amount of money you can see here, look at this number. Total sum of capital under management was about 665 billion yen, which is about 100 billion US dollars, right? And it accounts for about 1% of the total GDP in the countries. So there's a remarkable sum of money that people can use for further growth and innovations. And in fact, because of that, we know there's recently, because of this economical boom, there's a so-called, it facilitated the birth of the 4 new great generation inventions at this point. Now, as you know, China is very proud of its old 4 great inventions in the ancient times. For example, the compass, the paper making, gunpowder, and printings. Okay? And in recent decades, there are 4 new great inventions, and these are basically coming from this economical boom. And for example, would be the e-commerce, right? Sharing bike, and mobile payment, and also high-speed rail. Okay? Of course, not all of them are startup. At least these 3 things are startup, but these, of course, are a very good example of innovation coming in the countries. Okay? So all these things are coming together. Economics, growth, and innovation, entrepreneurship. These things are tied up together and help each other grow in both directions. Okay? So what this means? So what this means in terms of higher education? Now, we are university professors. We don't, normally we don't involve in business management in those things. Okay? But what we found is actually there's a lot of strong connection, a very critical role that higher education can play in this effort, in this exercise. And the idea of that is that, well, higher education, we can, the important thing is that we can integrate innovation and entrepreneurship into our curriculum so we can train the next generation of workforce. Okay, this is very, very critical. So the student will keep in pace with what's going on in the outside world, right? So we can promote in terms of, our core mission remains the same. Our core mission remains to advance the frontier of knowledge. So we want to do good science. We want to advance the forefront of science, the advanced frontier of science. We want to educate the next generation workforce by teaching them the skills of advanced thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. Okay, we want to see not only going to a classroom, taking a test, we want to see how can you use the knowledge they learn in the classroom and can use for practical problems in the outside world. And this is the main motivation of this coming within this national focus shifting. Right? And of course, in this case, we need curriculum innovation. So I'm going to give you some example coming from the South China University of Technology, where I'm also an exam professor at this point, and see how this curriculum can be reformed, can be innovated to meet the needs of this purpose. So let's look at what happens. Let's say, with the growth of national wealth, how the university can benefit from this increase of national wealth. And the most significant that we see here is a dramatic increasement, a dramatic enhancement of research spending on spending on research and development. So this curve represents the national R&D investment in the past few decades. Now, what you can see here, they increased dramatically in terms of the percentage of the total GDP in the countries. Right? So this line represents China, and the red one represents the US. Now, you see that the rate of increase from China is significantly higher than the US. And by some accounts, people blame the few past presidents of the US having too many works, and they diverse the resources for something that should be spent on research and development in the countries. Okay? By any regards, so China has been increasing dramatically in terms of research and development investment. Okay? So, for example, like the Minister of Science and Technology, Wang Gang, in a recent media briefing, what he said is that, well, China needs to enter the ranks of innovative countries and become a big technological innovation power by 2050. Okay? And by doing so, we need the basic research and frontier exploration. It's a big lesson that must be done now. Okay? So in other words, the government has set a new focus of research and basic research, and hopefully by using the knowledge that we learn from this experience, we can promote, we can facilitate the generation of new IPs. And this IP now can be translated into entrepreneurship and innovation in the next phase of growth. And this is the idea. So the R&D spending rose 11.6% in 2017, going up to like 1.75 trillion yuan, which is about $280 billion in the entire countries. Money is important. Right? With money, you can do a lot of things. Okay? And I'm glad that the nation did one thing that's very, very important, which is by using the money to recruit a whole array of global talents. Right? After everything had to be executed by human, right? You have money, you have resources, but the most important part is talents, is human talents. And so the government has set up a very ambitious variety of programs to recruit a number of people from across the world, right? And in fact, so the number of R&D personnel has been increasing dramatically. So the blue curve represents the number of R&D personnel in China over the years. So this is what you can see from this curve is at this point, by 2016 or so, it overpassed the US in terms of number of R&D personnel, okay? And with this many people working in the area, it dramatically increased research productivity. And research productivity translated into an increase of IP as well, the intellectual properties, as represented by, for example, the number of patent applications received by the National Patent Office over the years. So it has been increased significantly in this case. Now with this patent increase, this is the knowledge base that's needed for any innovation, for any technological startup. And part of it is motivated by a hierarchical structure in China. Now, China is a highly centralized government. Okay? Everything coming from the top and trickle down to local government. Right? So in this case, the dramatic enhancement of productivity and technology advance is basically powered by a variety of programs coming from the top countries, the central government down to local governments. For example, a variety of rewarded programs. For example, like, you know, when people doing good job, when people making great advancement in terms of their career, they can move up in this ladder right here. For example, the top one is the membership of national academies. Okay? And the second one, for example, the second tier is like National Thousand Talents Program, the Distinguished Young Scholars Program, and the Cheung Kong Professors Programs. Okay? So if you have a chance to go to China, especially go to academic conferences, you're going to meet a lot of people wearing different hats. Okay? And these hats are basically a recognition of the people that are doing excellent job in their professions. Okay? And down at the local government level, the provincial level, and also even university level, there are multiple programs that promote and recognize people who can make progress, who can make a breakthrough in their careers. Now we come to this profession, we come to this profession because of our love of research, because of our love of science. But we are human. We like to be recognized. We like to be promoted. We like to be honored. Okay? So this actually provides a very strong driving force for people to pursue this excellent academic research. Okay? And therefore it provides a so-called peer pressure mechanisms to promote, that make sure that you don't want to lag behind. Okay? You want to make sure that you gain respect from your peer, and that's why you promote a very competitive environment to the whole entire countries. Okay? So like the Olympic athletes, you want to stay on top of the podium. Okay? And to do that, you have to work very, very hard. You have to pay, you have to work extra hard, make sure you compare, therefore you can beat, you win the competition against your peer, and this driving force coming to the situation that where you increase dramatically the research productivity in recent years in China. Okay. And in terms of the university that I'm working at part-time at this point, the South China University of Technologies, okay? It's a national university, has a part of the so-called 985 program, 211 program, and double first grade program. These are the national core programs. Once you get selected, these core programs support a select number of universities within the entire countries. Right? So what they have is that, once you get into this program, you receive annual allocation from the central government. With this money, you can recruit new talents, you can have infrastructure improvement, you can have improvement of classroom teaching, a variety of things can be done. Okay? And typically the money sum is of the order of hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay? So by being selected into these programs, it shows the prestige of the university, and this also being built a good platform to attract first-rate talents into your campus. The university also holds about 8 state key labs or 8 national research centers, okay? And these also supported by the central government. So it comes with a large sum of money every year, and this money again can be used for infrastructure equipment purchasing, for example, for personnel hiring and for talent recruitment, variety of things. There are also 11 ministry level key labs and research centers. This, for example, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Science and Technologies. So there are different ministries have different supporting mechanisms, and those can also support the key labs on the campus. And these are highly competitive, okay? And every few years, at the end of the program, they will have a reviews. If you don't do a good job, you'll be dropped from the programs. So you have to re-enter the program by finding new applications. So it's highly competitive, okay? So it's not, actually getting into a situation like this is not easy. Right? There are also 31 province-level research centers on campus. So this, again, is a flagship university in the Guangdong province. When I look at the research spending in 2015, the university ranked about 22 or so in the countries. Okay, so this is a pretty remarkable achievement in this situation. Right? So part of it is by establishing a new research center called New Energy Research Institute. I'm the co-director of this institute. Okay. And so this was established, this is the Guangdong province, this is China's map. Okay, and this is the capital of Guangdong province, the Guangzhou city. And the city is very, very supportive of the effort. Okay, they designated an island on the Pearl River. Okay, and this designated this island as a so-called higher education mega centers. So divided this island into 10 pieces, and give one piece to one of the top 10 universities within the province. Okay, so South China University of Technology is having a piece in this corner right here, and our institute is like this. It's right here. At this spot, okay, facing the Pearl River. It's a very beautiful environment in this case. So this is the front. This is the front of the campus, new campus on the island, and this is the institute on the top level of the building at this. Okay, so occupying, currently we are having about 14 full-time professors. Okay, and we are pretty lucky, even though our institute only like 6 years old, we have been able to recruit 2 national 1,000 talents professors, and 1 national 1,000 youth talents professors, and 3 distinguished young scholars of the Guangdong province. Okay, so these distinguished faculties bringing new idea, bringing the fresh talents that we need to pursue the excellence of academic excellence. And currently we have about almost 100 graduate students, okay, and occupying about 1,200 square meters of research lab space. Okay. And we have equipment worth about more than 300 $3 million of research equipment on campus, including, for example, XPS, AMR, XRD, Raman, etc. Those tools that we needed for modern day research and material research. Okay. We also produce, because of these talents and this number of people, we also produce 100 applications a year, okay, and 5,000 patent applications so far. Okay. And these applications patent applications are mainly focused on energy research. Okay, so the institute is focusing on new materials, new catalysts, okay, for electrochemical energy conversion and storage. And the key motivation is looking at catalyst design for fuel cell chemistries. For example, design catalysts for metal air batteries or low temperature fuel cells. Right. In addition, we design catalysts for solar oxide fuel cells and also for water splitting, generating hydrogen and oxygen. And all these are very, very important processes for the new energy to have a sustainable future in energy research. And because of our unique progress in this area, we file about dozens of applications, patent applications at this point. And so with this patent application, with the IP in hand, we generate a lot of interest from our local neighbors. Our local neighbors, Guangdong, as you know, Guangdong province is one of the richest provinces in the countries. So a lot of people have a pot of money waiting for investment. So actually we have been approached by quite a few local business persons with a lot of proposal to have tech transfer in our case. So we're currently doing discussion, having discussion with at least 2 local business at this point. One of them already started in our group, especially, for example, looking at application of antimicrobial property of the materials for agricultural applications. Okay. Now look at the nationwide when you look at nationwide, the number of students actually has been, the college student has been, number of students has been increased dramatically. Okay, remember in our institute, we train about, let's say we have 100 graduate students so far. We graduate about 5 or 6 students, about 20 students or so each year. And so it is fit into the national picture right here in this case. So there's a total number of college students over the years, and this, the people, especially looking at recently, has been growing exponentially. And so this number, these people are the backbone or the workforce in the next phase of economical growth. And the number of graduate students also increased dramatically in this case, okay? Now, of course, number doesn't mean anything, right? We have to make sure that people, the students that graduated from our campus, graduated from our program, are properly trained and know what's going on with the outside world. So with that, we had to have curriculum reform, how do we have curriculum innovation at this point. So what we have in this point is that, well, in this case, we design a mechanism that's in line with the national guideline for college student innovation and entrepreneurships. Okay, this is coming from the central government. Okay, there are a lot of bullet points in this case. There are a lot of bullet points coming from this guideline. Everything based fitting to the national decree of deepening innovation and entrepreneurship in higher education. Now, you don't have to read every single bullet point. The key part in this case is to have curriculum innovations, okay, and trickle down to real practical mechanism is 2 things. One is provide flexible credits. Okay, when you get student credits, you get professor credits to do entrepreneurships and innovations. They have the personal drive to do those things. Okay. The second thing is you give them the resources they need for these exercises, and that means to provide necessary seed monies for the exercise in this case. So these are 2 key parts coming from this national guideline at this point. Right? And so in terms of curriculum reform, what we found is that, well, in the formal, there are 2 parts. In the formal curriculum, right, you know, we expand the general education courses for students well beyond the business majors. Okay, so our goal is to involve students on a broader basis to get an idea that, you know, well, the entrepreneurship can be open for anybody with an interest, right? And we can cultivate a sense of innovation entrepreneurship on campus by having, for example, inviting special seminars, special lectures from successful alumni, doing and talking about, you know, to have insight, enhanced insight into the integration of coursework and entrepreneurs exercises. Okay. We have a large number of alumni base in the nearby area, and those actually are the most advanced places in the countries. Right? The other thing is that we have actual curriculum activity, for example, promote practical training, encouraging student initiatives, and also off-campus internships at this point. Okay. I'm going to talk about more about the student initiative in this case because this is also a very important part of the university focus in line of the national decree. So what we have in this case, this is, for example, every year the university have a call for innovation and entrepreneurship initiative applications. And in this case, again, it's coming from the training program guideline. Okay? So it provides the student can apply for seed grants for entrepreneurs projects, and you have to be involved, a faculty mentor. Okay? And this project could be coming from individual students, or it could be coming from a team of students, or no more than 5. And the project could last up to 2 years. Okay? So the students, this program is totally for the students and by the students. Right? So currently involving about almost 100% of the graduate students and about 50% of the undergraduate students in this case. So in the past 3 years, we generated about 246 research articles, okay, in peer-reviewed journals, about 127 patent applications in this case. Okay? Now, in this process, the main driving force is to give students incentives of doing these things. Do the actual, sometimes can look at actual things by giving them credits, okay, and showing these things on the transcript. So this is part of the resume, part of the personal record of achievement during the college education at this point. Right? So what we have is in the curriculum reform, what we have in the university also have a variety of protection mechanisms. Like for example, in the curriculum reform, we have about 20 general education courses relevant to entrepreneurships. Okay, these are totally new, only in recent years. We also have credits for innovation capability training and innovation research training in lieu of conventional major electives. So normally, you know that in student, in addition to the major courses, they have to take some elective classes. And you can take this, you can include all these different training programs into the elective component in their transcript. And allow the innovation entrepreneurship training project as the thesis, the thesis project at this point. So that means you can do two things at once. Okay, you have the exercise, you have the experience, getting the experience, and put those things at the partial fulfillment of a degree requirement. Meanwhile, the university also encouraged a lot of student activities, scientific activity. For example, established the Student Innovation Club, Student Entrepreneurship Incubation Center, a Student Entrepreneurship Center, and Youth Employment Entrepreneurship Base. Okay? And you also have the university coming from the annual budget also carve up a small portion of that and use that money, right? Use that money at the seed, at the seed grants for student startup effort at this point. So the university also take it upon itself by establishing a special channel to help startup students to get government support or even private support from outside sources. So you see that certainly the university is not a money-making machine, right? So what the university can do is provide the necessary seed money to help launch the effort. And along the way, hopefully the effort will be growing successfully and will be able to attract additional support from outside sources. And this is what it's supposed to be. It's like when running a research lab, right? So, of course, during this process, we have to make sure we have good professors that can be instructors, that can be help mentor the student as well. So in this situation, the university also invests heavily, on teacher training, okay, by sending them for a second phase additional training, going to different on campus or off campus or even abroad, okay, and they help students publicize and broadcast publicize the entrepreneurship activity on campus, and encourage students to establish startup in the university incubator base. There's right now in holds about 11 student startup in the incubator base on campus. We call it Science and Technology Park. There's a building, a beautiful building on campus that's designated for student startup and for the students only. Okay? And also rewards and promotes model students of entrepreneurships. Okay? This is very, very important to see, get people idea that, well, this is what they can do. Okay? And this is not far away from where they can reach. And in terms of expectation for the teacher, because teachers, the professor also is a very, very important part in this effort. The main idea is that, well, students learn things from the professors. And the professor makes sure he had a necessary tool to teach the students. And that's why we had to have the university also invest on on professors further training at this point. And in doing so, there's also a corresponding rewarding mechanism in this case. So what they have in the requirement is that within one employment period, the professor has to mentor at least one innovation entrepreneurship project involving at least one student. Okay? But they're going to be rewarded. So the integration of research and teaching with innovation and entrepreneurship will then be used as important parameters in promotion and rewards. Okay? This is very, very important. So you need to give people incentives to do things actual, right? The university also encourages leave of absence for entrepreneurs' efforts. For example, you can take a leave of absence to take a position in an outside company or start up a company, right? And actually, a variety. I know somebody has a lot of colleagues that can take up this offer and doing this exercise like this. The university also have very generous idea of shared dividends or tech transfers, okay? And that's why the application of patents. The filing a patent application from campus university, campus professors have increased dramatically in recent years because of this reward, because of the share dividends. If possible, this thing can be involved in a tech transfer effort. Okay? And in fact, when you look at, because of these efforts, the university was ranked about number 40 in Asia Pacific, most innovative universities in this graph right here. I think second about Tianjin University also, the entire Asian Pacific regions, okay, because of this different mechanism in promoting research and innovations. Now, of course, such effort can also be enhanced by forming alliance with other universities in the province. Indeed, they formed an alliance of innovation and entrepreneurship of Guangdong province. It involves more than 100 universities within the province. Okay? And also, the goal, the mission of this alliance is to promote university innovation and entrepreneurships by facilitating tech transfer. Okay? And this alliance has been able to raise funds of 1 billion yen, which is about maybe 150, 160 million US dollars at the startup, at the seed money to help the startups. Okay? And during this process, they also been able to identify 300 very, very important mentors from business, from venture capitals, and from research institutions. Okay? To make sure that the startup will have bigger chance of success during the effort. Okay? So that means we have provide resources, provide human guidelines, provide mechanism, policies to ensure, to make sure that the success rate of the startup could be enhanced dramatically. Okay? Now, so what else can we do? What else can we do? I said it's a golden era of the startup in China. When I look at this map, okay, when I look at this map, you will see a better sense of what that means. Okay? China is a big country. Okay? And big country means the development is highly unbalanced. Okay? Between the east and the west, between the north and the south. When you look at this map, what's this map? This map is the human migration during the Chinese New Year. What you can see here is that these traffics happening typically only on the lower half of the countries. Okay? The other half is still only have minimum activity at this point. Okay? What I mean by that is that there's a huge blank they can fill in. That creates a huge number of opportunity in the futures. And with that, because the government put out a very ambitious project called China Western Development Projects, focusing on development of the western part of the countries. So that way they can bring that in part where the eastern part was more advanced in this case. So then with that, you can see that opportunity is abundant. Okay? And this indeed is another example that why now is a golden era to startup in China at this point. So today I give you some perspective of what it means by having startup in China. Okay? And the main idea of the booming of startup in China is because of hierarchical mechanism, of hierarchical framework, down up from the central government down to an individual university that promotes innovation and entrepreneurships. Okay? Look at the three important ingredients. The ingredient in this case, timing, environment, and talents. This fit into the mission of the higher education. Right? And the bottom line in this case is that, science education can play a very critical role in these efforts. And what I say is that, there are two things that we can learn from here. One is by training the qualified workforce for this effort. The other thing is by producing necessary intellectual properties that's needed, the fundamental basis for science, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And with that, again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come down here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation, Professor Xiao Weishen. It's very interesting. You show the data and comparing data with the other countries and show the innovation and R&D growth in China. And the key success factor that I catch your presentation, I think is the student, the new young gen. You support and give an important a lot for the new young generation, right? And then the reward system is very important to support the innovation growth in China. Then thank you so much. If you have any question, please feel free to ask Professor, or you can ask in the coffee break time. So give a big applause to the first presentation, Professor Xiao Weishen. To avoid being too long, now we proudly present the second plenary professor speaker, Professor Matthew Parkinson, Professor of Engineering Design and Mechanical Engineering at Penn State University. He holds a doctoral degree in biomedical engineering and master degree in industrial and operations from the University of Michigan, and a master degree in mechanical engineering from He has received numerous awards, including State Teacher Educational Award and Withrow Distinguished Presenter Award, the ASMEDAC Fourth Best Paper Award, Penn State Premier Teaching Award, and is a Penn State Teaching Fellow. Parkinson received a National Science Foundation Career Award for activities defining the foundation of design for human variability. And now, we proudly present the next plenary speaker, Professor Matthews. Please give a big applause to him.
Thank you. I'm happy to be with you, and I'm happy some of the students are staying because I want to talk especially to them, I think. Thank you also for the invitation. My family and I love Thai food, actually, but have never been to Thailand, and so this was exciting for me. The sweet corn is one of our favorites. Last night we had a fabulous dinner. It was so nice I had to take a picture of it. The sweet mango rice is one of my favorite things in the whole world. So that was terrific. Now, at Penn State University, my research lab is called the Open Design Lab. If you want to learn about the kind of research that I do, you can go to our website at openlab.psu.edu. I want to tell you a little bit about me because that's going to be really important for the kinds of things that we're going to talk about here in a minute. So I have a wife and 4 kids and a dog, and they're all great. Now, I don't know about dads in Thailand, but dads in the U.S. like to embarrass their children. Is that true in Thailand too? Excellent. So my family and I lived in Singapore for a time, and our kids weren't exactly convinced about some of the fruit. So my daughter wasn't sure about rambutan, which I think is fantastic. But she was not as convinced. She doesn't like this picture at all, and so I promised that I would show it here. Now, growing up, I lived in a state in the United States called Utah. And I don't know if most people have heard of Utah. It's by California and Nevada. It's kind of in the western part of the United States. And it has lots of high mountains and lots of very narrow valleys. This is a hike that we like to do that goes through a very narrow valley. And one of the interesting things about Utah is that 2 of the top 5 universities in the United States for commercialization are there. The top 5 universities for commercialization don't include MIT, they don't include Berkeley. They don't include many of the institutions that you would think of as great universities for commercialization. The number 1 university is the University of Utah, and number 4 is Brigham Young University, and I attended both of those universities working on my undergraduate degrees. And there are some interesting things there that we learned and about the people in Utah. And so when I went to graduate school at the University of Michigan, and then now that I'm a faculty member at Penn State University, one of the things that I try to do is bring things that we learned in Utah to Penn State University to help them to become more innovative and improve their commercialization opportunities. And the thing I want to talk most about today is how partnerships with academia, between academia and industry, can catalyze innovation, how they can make innovation happen. And I really believe that as academics, it is our job to create a culture, an environment where innovation can happen. And we just heard about a number of initiatives at South China University where they're working on that. And I want to talk bigger picture about some of those kinds of things. And to do that, I'm going to share my own experience and also another one that I think is particularly relevant. So Frank Lloyd Wright is an architect. He's dead now, but he was an architect in the United States. Have people heard of Frank Lloyd Wright? A few? Okay. So how many recognize this house? Have you seen this picture? Okay, there's a Lego. You can buy a Lego set of this house. It's called Falling Water, and many consider this to be his masterpiece. And the house it has an interesting story behind it. It's built in Pennsylvania, just a couple of hours from where Penn State University is. And the people who owned the land came to Frank Lloyd Wright and said, we would like you to build us a house. And their son was a student of Frank Lloyd Wright's. And so he convinced his parents that Frank Lloyd Wright would be the perfect architect to build this house. And his parents were also very wealthy, which is great when you're an architect and want to build a really cool house, right? And so the people who owned the land originally envisioned that the house would be built off on the side somewhere near the stream where they could go look at it. But Frank Lloyd Wright built the house right on top of the stream. And so the stream actually flows around and through the house. And there are other things. This is the living room. You'll see there are giant boulders that have been built into the house. The trellis structure goes around the trees. And so what happened was there was this environment, and Frank Lloyd Wright took it and used that to inspire his work. And he incorporated the things that were around him into the house. If that house were built in a different location, it would be completely different. So the house and the location really are one. And that is very similar to my own experience. Now, students, there's a few of you still here. When I was at university, I want to tell you about a couple of classes that I took. One of them was a class where we learned about mechanisms, and in particular, compliant mechanisms. So compliant mechanisms, the idea is that you take a rigid body mechanism like we have on top. That's a classic 4-bar that we see all the time. It's one of the most common mechanisms in the world. They use it to close doors and to drive trains and to do all kinds of amazing things. But the idea is that you take this mechanism that has 4 rigid joints in it, and you replace it with no joints. So it just bends to get its motion rather than moving about pivots. Okay? And so I had a class where we learned how to do this kind of work. I had another class where we learned about microelectromechanical systems, and we designed MEMS. Now, MEMS devices are really cool. The idea is that you use the same techniques they use to make computer chips, to make little teeny tiny mechanisms. So that mechanism up on top is a gear train. So it's a gear spinning around that drives another gear, and that thing cruising around on top of it is a dust mite. So it's very, very, very small. And so in this class, we learned how to design mechanisms, and in particular, these very small microelectromechanical systems. I had another class where we learned about product development processes, and I ended up doing a lot of research in this area and how we can design things and improve our product development processes so that they go more smoothly. I had a class where we learned about people with disabilities and how to design things that work well for them. And in this particular case, we designed a seat cushion where you could create it using a computer-controlled mill. So it would take hard foam and then it would cut it out and make this cushion that was customized for the individual that was going to use it. I had another class where we learned about product platforms. So how you take something that, for example, with automobiles, they might have a single automobile platform that they then customize in a lot of different ways to make several different automobiles. And we learned about how we might do that. I had another class where we learned about designing things for people, like bicycles, and how to make them more efficient. And then I ended up doing research for my PhD in how people maintain their balance as they move around. So why am I telling you all this? Because I also had this opportunity to work for a company called Herman Miller. And Herman Miller is a very famous design company in the United States. And they design a lot of things for offices. And in particular, they designed this chair, the Aaron chair, which is a very famous chair. And I wasn't doing design work for them. I was doing a literature review. So I would read articles and summarize them. I would write white papers for them and provide them to them. But what I really wanted to do was design. I wanted to be innovative. I wanted to use my creativity and make something cool. And so I thought about the experiences that I had had with compliant mechanisms and product development processes and learning about people and how they sit and those kinds of things. And I thought maybe there's an opportunity for me to do some design work for this company. And so I took the things that I had learned about all these different aspects of design and came up with an idea for a seating cushion that would have these little purple nubs in it. So these guys right here, people sit on those and they deflect downward. And there's a little support surface underneath and some cool things happen. And it combined the compliant mechanisms. There are no rigid joints in here with what I understood about people and how they sit and some of these other things. And I took that and I built a prototype. Now, prototypes can be very expensive, and in particular when you're trying to make large prototypes. And so we usually start very small and very crude. This actually is my same daughter who doesn't like rambutan. When she was very little. So I had a family when I was still at university. And so you can see we made a little teeny one. It turns out that you can make prototypes for children that are much smaller than prototypes for adults. And we practiced. This is my friend's daughter testing it out. And we learned how people sat on it and how it behaved. And from that, we started to build larger prototypes. And ultimately, we were able to produce a full-size prototype. And we took that to Herman Miller and this company that I had done literature reviews for and explained to them this technology that we had developed based on stuff I had learned from a whole bunch of different classes. And they patented it. So they bought the idea from us, and we patented that idea. Now, once they started to help make prototypes, they got a lot better, right? So this is a very fancy prototype that they developed. Another one improving on that cushion design that we had. And when this chair was finally released, it received fantastic reviews. And Herman Miller still sells this chair. It's their top-of-the-line chair, their best-performing chair. And the reviews, the best chair we've ever sat on. And here's some pretty pictures of it. You can see underneath the way that thing works is actually a lot like that CAD model that I made, 10 years before this chair even came out. And here's some pretty pictures of the back and stuff. So I told you the story about Frank Lloyd Wright and about myself so that I could ask this question. What did Frank Lloyd Wright and what did I need? What were the things that made it so that Frank Lloyd Wright could create this fantastic design, this icon of design, and so that I could make my meager contribution to the seating world? Well, we needed three things. We needed some breadth of experience. You see how the result of all of my different activities helped me to create this technology that was involved in this chair. We needed resources. So Frank Lloyd Wright needed very wealthy landowners who were willing to spend a whole bunch of money on a house. I needed the ability to prototype stuff and the resources that would make it possible to do that. And we needed an opportunity. Now, I'm happy that I kept my slides with me and I used my own laptop because I got to add this bit right here. These are a lot like we just heard. Talent, environment, and timing. Okay? And so you've heard it from two people now, that these are very important things. So, and we'll talk more about those. So at Penn State, what does this look like at Penn State? How are we trying to provide the talent and the opportunity and the resources at Penn State and many other universities in the United States? So one of the things that we're trying to do at Penn State is help our students from the very beginning understand that the development of their talent, the development of their breadth of understanding is very, very important. And in the Faculty of Engineering where I teach, we do this by having a course that is multidisciplinary. So before the students ever pick which major they want to pursue, they take a course that requires them to learn about all of the majors and work with all of the different students who will eventually specialize. And we call this our Cornerstone course. And one of the really exciting elements of this Cornerstone course that helps the innovation to develop is that there's a strong partnership with industry in this course. So Lockheed Martin is a great big company in the United States. They make airplanes and a lot of other things. And they were our sponsor this past semester that just concluded last week. and they sponsored a project that we had over 1,000 students work on. And so they were all working on the development of a new kind of manufacturing technique for this for Lockheed Martin. And if you want to learn about this, you can go. I have that the URL up top, sites.psu.edu/engineering design project, and you can click on the current project, and it will tell you about that. So that's one of the things that we try and do is from the very beginning stress to the students that the breadth of what they're learning is important, and we try to give them a foundation of design experience that they can then relate their other courses to. Many of our students show up at university and they have a major that they want to major in, but they don't really know what it's like to work in that major. They don't know what they're going to do after they graduate, and so as they take their courses, they don't really understand how that relates to what they'll be doing in the future. So we try and give them that understanding from the very beginning, and that's been very helpful. We try to provide resources through our makerspace. Now, makerspaces are becoming very important in the United States and around the world. They're an opportunity for students to go in, regardless of their discipline, and work with their hands and build things. Build prototypes, try things out, and try new ideas. It helps them to learn things, and it helps them to be more creative. At Penn State, we have a number of partners in industry that provide money to support our makerspace. What this means is that any student from across the university can come to the makerspace and we will train them how to use the tools inside of it. If they want to learn how to weld, we will train them to learn how to weld. If they want to learn how to use any of the other machines, we will train them to do that. Faculty and staff have that same opportunity. So if faculty members want to come and learn how to do things, we will train them how to do that, and that is all for free. If they want to work on anything, it doesn't matter if it's for a class or it's for their motorcycle or for their boyfriend or girlfriend. We don't care. They can come and work on stuff, and we will provide the materials for them. In fact, we will even give them a budget to buy additional materials that they might need. So we have students who are building robots to solve Rubik's Cubes. We have students who are building special equipment for their bicycles. We have students who are developing things for companies. So they have ideas of a company that they might want to start. And so they come and work on their prototypes there. So the idea of a makerspace is very, very important to giving the students the resources that they need. And then lastly, to address the timing or the opportunity, we try to have a strong relationship with industry throughout the curriculum. And one of the places where that happens is in our capstone program. So this is a picture that I took last week of our design showcase where the students are showing off all of the work that they have done during their capstone program. And you can see that there are lots and lots of people there. We have over 140 projects that are industry-sponsored projects in our capstone program. That's in addition to the 240 teams that we have working on as freshmen on their projects. And we had many other projects there as well. And so we actually take the whole floor of our large arena to show off all of our projects. And in addition to this room, we have another room on the side that's almost this big, full of projects. And so this is something that has been very helpful to us as we try and provide the resources for our students. Now, we are trying to create an expectation that innovation will happen. When a student shows up in class, we are hoping that they expect that exciting things will be there. And we are hoping that when they get there, there's the possibility that something very innovative will come out. So when we first started this program back in 2007, 2008, we processed 25 intellectual property and non-disclosure agreements. So we're partnering with industry, and when industry comes, if they're going to share their secrets with us, they want us to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And so if at the same time, if they expect that we're going to develop something very exciting that they'll want to patent, then we need to process an intellectual property agreement. So in 2007 to 2008, we processed 25 of those. In this past academic year, we processed 182 of them. And so we've seen a huge growth in those agreements. What that means is that our companies that come in are expecting exciting things to happen. And that's been really helpful to us. Now, our projects are intentionally multidisciplinary. So back here to showing all of these student teams out here working. We have 140 student teams. 138 of those teams have students from at least 2 departments on them. And 60% of the teams have students from at least 3 departments working on them. So we have students from, for example, biomedical engineering and mechanical engineering working together. Or we have students from psychology working with students from business and working with students from biomedical engineering, all collaborating together on these ideas. Why is that helpful? Well, one of the reasons is we actually heard from the president's welcome remarks earlier. He was talking about that new, very exciting therapy for cancer patients that was developed here. And so it's both a tablet and a spray. And it was developed by faculty of pharmacy and faculty of law. So it was people working together that made these kinds of things happen. And that's the kind of thing that we have seen in the United States as well, that many of the great advances happen when people from different disciplines are working together. And so intentionally making things multidisciplinary has really helped to foster innovation. So out of the 140 projects, 23 of those came from entrepreneurs or small companies. Actually, no, so it was out of the 140. So it was out of the whole year. So we had 240 for the whole year. So about 10%, 23 of those came from entrepreneurs or small companies. So we try and encourage local entrepreneurs, if they have a cool idea, to come to our university and we will help them to develop it. So we provide funding to help support the development of the idea. We have very generous intellectual property policies that allow us to take a very small ownership of the idea. The entrepreneur gets to maintain the majority of that as they develop it, and so we become their partners through that process. And we have found then that these partnerships between industry and academia can bring the breadth or the talent. They can bring the resources, and they can bring the opportunity, which are all key ingredients to innovation. Now, I have a special note to students, and this is relevant for the faculty that teach them as well. It's really important that as students, we find problems that only we can solve, and then take advantage of the opportunities to solve them. So think about your life experience. What are the things that you are good at? What are the things that you know that the people around you don't know? And when you think about that, think about the problems that you are equipped to solve that the people around you aren't equipped to solve because they haven't had that experience. In my particular case, I had taken a set of classes and had a set of experiences that meant that when I looked at designing a new chair, that I saw it in a different way than the people who usually designed chairs did. And as a result, the chair that came out was different because of the life experience that I had had. So as students, think about that. And as faculty, as we teach our students, we need to think about the tools that we are putting in their toolbox. How are we helping the students to be equipped to solve the many challenges that will face them as they go through life? We want to create students that are robust. We talk all the time about designs that are robust, right? If we're doing statistics, we want a design that is robust so that regardless of the variability of the input, the output is very stable. We want our students to be robust so that regardless of the problems that life throws at them, that their output is very stable, that they will be successful regardless of the variety of things that come in. That's my first important note. My second note is a little bit personal. This is, again, back to me and my family. So these are pictures, and I'm going to zoom in on them quickly. we had one night where my family got together and we talked about what are the things that we are good at individually and how do we relate with each other. And we made these little pictures of ourselves, and here is mine. So this is what we call the T-shaped person. Okay, and so this is me at the top, and then across the top of the T, the breadth of the T, this is how I interact with other people, or in this case, how do I interact with my kids and with my wife? And we do that through maps. So my youngest son loves maps. He loves geography. He tracks me when I travel. So right now he knows that I'm in Thailand and is very excited, and he followed my plane as it went. And he has a great big map on his wall with all sorts of dots on it from the places that he's been. And he and I interact with each other and talk about maps. My wife loves volleyball, and that's the next picture across the top. She loves volleyball. She thinks it's fantastic. She plays on 2 volleyball teams. She has a team that plays in a men's league, and they just took 2nd place in the men's league, which means that they play on a taller net and everything else. So she loves volleyball, and she and I interact with each other. That's one of the things that we share. That next one right there is my daughter who doesn't like rambutan. She and I go fishing together. And that's one of the things that we share, is that relationship around fishing. That next one is baking. So my other son and I do a lot of baking together. And then that last one is officing. What that means is that I spend too much time at work, and that my kids interact with me by coming to my office and hanging out with me there. Okay, so those are all the things. That's how I interact with others. Those are in my family. Down the bottom of the T, that's the depth. So these are what my expertise are. These are things that I am good at in my family. And they say that I'm good at making my wife happy, that I'm good at cooking, that I'm good at doing things with the kids. And so this is the within discipline depth. Now, innovative people are almost always T-shaped, okay? So I gave you an example about how I relate to my family, but let's think now back to how we relate with others as we try to be innovative and try to commercialize the kinds of work that we do and try to change the world and make it a better place, okay? You need to think as students about that top of the T. That top of the T is really, really important. That is how you're going to interact with others. It doesn't do any good if you just lock yourself in a research lab and only focus on one little teeny tiny problem and solve one homework problem over and over again for the rest of your life. Okay? You need to develop breadth so that you can interact with other people. You need to learn about the kinds of things that are interesting to you and the kinds of things that are interesting to them. Back to the example earlier, we had the faculty from pharmacy and the faculty from law. They needed to know how to work with each other. And that multidisciplinarity, that ability to work across disciplines, is very important. So pursue outside opportunities. Think of different kinds of things that you enjoy and learn about those and develop that. That's a very important part of your education here. And as faculty, that's something that we need to be aware of and reward. When our students are trying to pursue other things, we need to support them in that element. At the same time, they need to develop depth. Everybody needs to be good at something. It doesn't do any good if you're not good at anything. If all you have is breadth and you just get along with everybody really well, that's nice, but you need to contribute something. You need to bring an area of expertise so that when the problem comes that you are perfect for, you will be ready to solve it. And that's why we go to university. One of the really important reasons is we're developing that depth within our discipline. And as we do that, that will help us to become the kinds of innovative people. As the president of the university was saying earlier, he was talking about it's not sufficient for us to create students and for students to go through their time here and leave just being smart. If all they know how to do is be smart, that's not enough. We need to create the future leaders, the people that will be able to be innovative and create an environment where really exciting things can happen, where we can solve many of the world's problems. And to do that, we're going to need to do these kinds of things, develop both our breadth and our depth. And our partnerships in the university, both across faculties and with industry, can help us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Matthews. So any questions? Please feel free to ask them. So, อาจารย์เคสี
Happy to answer questions. I'm 200 centimeters tall, I was asked earlier. It's bad for flying on airplanes, but good for playing basketball.
Hello, it's okay now. Hi, good morning. My name is Kathy Third Paopong, and I'm from the different field. You are from the engineering design, right? But I'm from the Faculty of Accountancy at Rangsit University. And it is very privileged to listen to your presentation. My question is this, and this is also, if I may, I'd like to ask these questions to you, Matthew, and also Professor Chen as well, about the linkage of the education here or the universities here and also the industry. Because I saw it from the presentations, and you said that about 10% of the projects that you have had at the universities from the entrepreneur, yes. Right? And that is about 10%. May I ask that, is it very hard in the United States and in China that we have the linkage from the industry? Because like what I have seen and observed, maybe that's from my field, that we don't have a lot of the engagement of the community or of the companies outside. Is that we are reaching them or they are reaching us? Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a great question. From the United States perspective, about 10% of our projects are with entrepreneurs. About 55% of our projects are with medium and large companies. And then the other 30% of the projects come from within the university. So we're solving problems that the university has identified. For example, this past semester, do you guys know hockey? Hockey, the sport hockey? So Penn State has a hockey team. And the hockey team came to us and said, can you help us design something that will make it so that we can practice hockey better? And so we have problems like that that happen within the the university. When we first started, it was almost all projects from the university. It was almost 100% projects from the university. As time went on and we found a partner, we would bring them in from industry. We would bring them in, and they would have a good experience, and they would come back. And they would tell their friends, and then they would come back. And so now we have, so out of the 240 projects that we run every year, about 160 of those are industry-sponsored projects. But it took us 20 years to get there. And so it's something that we've been working on for a long time. The things that we offer them, they are excited to be around our students. They are looking to find students that they can hire. And so if we tell them if they sponsor a project, then they can get to know students that they may want to hire. That's something that they want to be around. We offer them intellectual property, so we're very generous in giving away intellectual property. If the students come up with a good idea, we let the companies own it. And so they find that attractive. Many of our companies come to us because they have a cool idea that they want to work on, but they don't have time to work on it. Everything in industry is so fast-paced now that they like to be able to have something developed kind of on the side, and so they'll have the students do that on the side. And those are the biggest attractive factors in the United States.
Well, I mean, it's a very, very big question. I mean, based on my experience, is that currently in China is people knocking on your door, they're asking for idea, asking for new technology they can use in starting a new company. I mean, we just have a new collaboration with a company in Guangzhou. So it's actually coming from personal connection. It's my old high school classmates. He said, well, yeah, something, money, you want to do something? And we feel that we eventually click on something. And so we're working with, that started last week, the money coming in, and the effort started already. So It's a unique opportunity at this point. I don't think it's universal, but I think it's very unusual and very special for a startup situation in China at this point. Is that especially in the south, in Guangdong, it's such a wealthy state, it's such a wealthy province. People have a lot of money and don't know what to do with them. If you know China, you probably heard about the housing market is skyrocketing, right? And because nothing else can be for investment. That's the best way for investment. So that's why, in addition to housing, there's not much opportunities. So if we can provide a good technical niche people can use to start a company, they will do it. So this, I think, it's a golden era. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. To be honest, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a science, but I'm from finance guy in the similar to the Ajahn Casey. But I interest in your fantastic chair. You should bring one for me because I want to try it. The best chair that I ever sat before. And then for the T-shape, right? For how to relate it to other, I think about the company and about the customer, how to relate it to our customer, and the depth is how the company offer or contribute to them. I think about the idea to do the innovation in business. It's very good idea and easy to understand. So I maybe use this to teach my student as well. Thank you so much, Professor Matthew.
You should know that's not my idea.
All right.
It's a fantastic idea. If you've heard, there's a company in the actually worldwide now called IDEO. They're the leading product design company in the world.
Yes.
And their founder he and a couple of people helped develop that idea of the T-shaped person. So you should know that's not mine.
Right. So anyone have any questions? Please feel free to ask them. Okay. ขอไมค์ด้วยครับ
First of all, I would like to thank you very much for your information. I would like to know, I am Nantachai from Biomedical Engineering faculty. I would like to know the relation between the design state and the standard regulation which you cannot explain. You don't explain in previously.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand exactly. So you're talking about regulation?
Relation between design and standard regulation, which the important point for the transform from the prototype to the product. I would like to know.
Okay, so he's asking about regulation from kind of the prototype through the finished product and how we manage that. That's actually a big challenge for us in the United States. In fact, sometimes when we work on projects, we'll have two teams. We'll have one team in South Africa or in China or in other places where there's less regulation and it's easier for them to try things. In the US, it's very difficult. One example of that is with medical devices. In the US, we're not allowed, because Penn State has not been approved by the FDA to make medical devices that people use. We can build prototypes, but we can't build finished products. And so that creates a challenge for us in that there are a lot of things students would like to do. We have student clubs that would like to 3D print little fingers to give to kids that are missing fingers, or would like to 3D print hands or other prosthetics that they provide to individual users that need them. And that's something that we would love to do, and we have a lot of expertise around, but our lawyers won't let us do that anymore. And so that creates a real challenge for us in that particular domain. One of the things, so we've done two things to help us with that. We partner with the law school, who understand the regulatory environment in the US much better than we do, and they help us to navigate that process. And then the other thing that we do is we do a lot of prototyping. So we build prototypes and we can practice with prototypes. We just can't build the final products. And so we work really hard on prototypes and then partnering with industry who can build the final product And so that the regulatory environment actually forces us into partnerships that we wouldn't otherwise make. So in some ways it's inconvenient, but in other ways the end result is very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And any questions? Okay, thank you so much for Professor Matthew and Professor Chen. Now I would like to invite Dr. Nared on the stage again to give a premium souvenir from RSU to both of our guest speakers. Professor Matthew Parkinson and Professor Shao Wei Chen. So thank you so much again, and please take photo together. We have finished the conference opening ceremony, so we have a coffee break at the front of the auditorium room. So just remind you that we have parallel session begin on 11:15. And the Wi-Fi passwords is shown on your labels. And could you please complete evaluation from via QR code after your labels? Thank you so much.